Okay, good afternoon. It is April 23rd at 12:30, so I'm coming to you for 7th grade. Today I put up the agenda. It should be on the screen. You should be able to see this. So this is our agenda for the day. So this is what we will be going over for this session today. So the plan for today is to go over the speed reading challenge, which I went over kind of briefly on Tuesday. Hi, Nathaniel. Welcome. The second thing we're going to do is review the language arts packet practice from the packet that I gave you guys. Hey, Nick, welcome. Let me write your guys' names down so I make sure I give you guys credit for being here. So welcome, both of you. All right, so on the screen, you should be able to see the agenda for today. So there are 4 main components of what we're going to do. I know Nathaniel already started the personality test. I'm not sure if anyone did the speed reading challenge yet, but I'll go over both of those again kind of quickly. And then these two, the second and third thing on the agenda for today, these are both from the packet that I sent home. So they're both aspects of the packet that I sent home, and I want to go over the answers to those. So if you've already done those, you can check your work. If you haven't done them yet, you can go over it and complete it as we work today. Hi, Katana, welcome. All right, so let's get started. So first things first, when you go on to the Google Classroom, why did that not work? Okay, having a technical difficulty here. I don't know why that's not working. Okay, so we'll do that part second. I'm not sure why that's not working. I guess first thing we'll do is actually go over the language arts practice. So when you went on your packet should look like this the first week. We're going to go over, hey, Carmelo, we're going to go over the number 1 and 2 today. So if you have your packet in front of you, you can be working as we go. If you've already done it, you can check your work. All right, so the first part of your packet should look like this, right? So it should say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And there's sort of like a short language arts practice for each one. The first one's pretty simple. All it wants you to do is capitalize what needs to be capitalized. So in this sentence, legends say that the great sea monster, the Kraken, attacked a ship named the Marie Celeste off the Scandinavian coast. So what you would do there is you would have to capitalize the words that need capitalized. So the first one's pretty easy. Legends needs capitalized because it's the first word in that sentence. Kraken needs to be capitalized because it's a proper name. If it was a sea monster, the dragon, or mermaid, or unicorn, or something that it's not a proper name, it's just a dragon, it wouldn't need to be capitalized. But because Kraken is kind of like a proper name, kind of like Zeus or Hades or any other mythological creature where that's its proper name, then it would need to be capitalized. So Legends has to be capitalized, Kraken has to be capitalized, Marie Celeste, since that's the name of the ship, those both need to be capitalized, and Scandinavian needs to be capitalized because that is a proper place, like off the coast of Sweden and Norway. So you would capitalize those. So Legends, Kraken, Marie Celeste, and Scandinavia. All right. So if you already have this done, that's good. If you don't already have it done, you can be filling it out as we go. The second question is just asking you to circle the prefixes that mean not. So prefixes are something added to a root word. For instance, place is a word. You can add dis in front of it, and that changes the meaning of the word. 5 of these 8 words actually, 5 of these 8 prefixes actually mean not. Yeah, the idea is that you do 1 of these each day. You could do all 5 in a day. If you look at the schedule, there are 5 components. So if you wanted, you could do all of this on Monday, all of this, the vocab on Tuesday, the stories on Wednesday and so forth, or you could, break it up. It's kind of like whatever is best for you. My idea is I don't want you to be overwhelmed, but I would like you to work about 20 minutes a day. So you could do one a day, or you could do them all at once. Your choice for that. The ones that mean not here would be im, in, non, un, and ill. So it would be these two, this one, and that one. Yeah, and if you want to rearrange the sentence, that's fine too. That's actually the third question. That's the point of that one as well, where it says the kraken having long slimy tentacles. They want you to change that into a complete sentence. So right now, the kraken having long slimy tentacles isn't a complete sentence. There are a bunch of ways you could make it a complete sentence. You could just change having to has, and then you would have the kraken has long slimy tentacles. You'd have to take out the comma if you do it that way. That's probably the shortest way to do it, though. If you wanted to keep a complex sentence, you could change it to the kraken, comma, having long slimy tentacles, comma, is a scary monster. Because in order for something to be a complete sentence, you have to have a thing, which is your subject, and you have to have what that thing does. So right now, the kraken having long slimy tentacles, you've only really explained the thing. You haven't explained what it does. So it needs to do something. So like having the kraken having long slimy tentacles attacks sailors or eats whales or whatever you want it to do. It has to do something. Hey, Tristan, let me just mark your name down. Welcome. We are just going over the packet that I sent back with you guys. So we are on this part of the packet, and we're just kind of reviewing the language arts component. So number 4 is pretty quick. Number 4, you just have to tell me what genre this is, where it reads, below the thunders of the upper sea, far, far beneath the abysmal deep, about this shadowy sides, the faintest sunlight flees, the kraken lies in ancient dreamless sleep. So you would just tell me what genre that would fit into. And any ideas before I tell you the answer? Would that be fiction, poetry, nonfiction, horror? Where do you think that would go? Hi, Hope. Welcome. I know there's a delay, so I'm not sure exactly how bad that delay is for you guys. But this one would actually be poetry. So I could see if you put myth why you would pick that, but it's supposed to be a poem. So this would actually be poetry. So if you didn't have poetry, you could change it to that. The last part on Monday is just which statements are opinions. This one's a little bit trickier. Okay, and we'll get to the Friday one here in a second. This one's a little bit trickier. B and C are the two that are supposed to be opinions. That's because you could prove that this guy wrote this book, and you could go back to their myths and prove whether or not the Scandinavians believed the kraken lived there. So these two would be harder to prove because like sea creatures like mermaids and krakens supposedly aren't real, and this one would also be hard to prove because you have to like find all the sailors and find out if anything terrorized them more than a kraken. Some people might be afraid of other things. I saw your question, Nathaniel. Yeah, you could underline the words that need to be capitalized. You could circle it, whatever, just so long as I know what your answer is. You don't have to rewrite the entire sentence. Same thing with number 3. You don't have to rewrite the whole sentence if you wanted to just change this period to a comma and then add something after it, like eats whales or scares sailors or whatever you wanted it to say. You could just add that to the end. I don't need you to rewrite the entire thing. I know the last component on your schedule is a writing assignment, so this one's really more like making sure you have the rules and the language arts editing abilities, not so much just practicing to write. All right, so let's move on to Tuesday. Tuesday is pretty short. This one, the first one, they just wanted you to add punctuation to it. So for this one, you would just add a period. I could see if you wrote an exclamation point. I actually looked this one up in the back of the book because I wasn't sure, but the back of the book agreed with me that should just be a period. If you put exclamation point, though, I wouldn't be upset. I would count that as correct also. An outline of information contained in a book listed in the order that the information occurs. This one would be a table of contents. An index is in the back of the book, and it's in alphabetical order, not in the order that it shows up. A bibliography is just the sources that the author used. So if someone was writing something on the history of the Crusades or the history of World War I, they would presumably get information from different sources, different books, different web pages, and they would order that. And then a preface, a preface is just, where they tell you what the story is going to be about or what the book's going to be about. I'll try to go kind of quick because I know we only got about 20 minutes. The next one, circle the complete subject. A subject is what the thing's about. So this sentence is about mermaids and mermen, and because mythical creatures kind of describes that subject, that entire portion would be the subject. So the complete subject is mythical creatures such as mermaids and mermen. So if you didn't have that, circle that. Number 4, would it be accurate to refer to mermaids as elusive? If you didn't know what elusive means, you could of course look it up. Elusive basically just means it's hard to find, hard to notice. So since no one's ever seen a mermaid, I would say yes, they're very elusive. This part's the one I wanted to get to. So after we do this, I'll jump to Friday because someone had a question, and then we'll move on because I don't want to spend the whole class just going over mechanics. But this part's something you guys need to learn how to do, and that's crossing out unnecessary words. One of the things that your high school teachers in a few years will be really big on is making sure you're not redundant, basically making sure you're not repeating the same ideas over and over just to take up space. So in this sentence, the person who wrote this says the same thing in different ways multiple times. So where they say, according to popular beliefs, it is thought that, these are both basically saying the same thing. According to popular beliefs and it is thought that, they're really just kind of repeating the same idea. So you wouldn't need both of those. You would cross off either according to popular beliefs or it is thought that. It doesn't matter which one you cross off. Either one would be fine. The second part of this sentence, mermaids are half human, half fish, made up of 2 different animals. Those again are saying the same thing, saying something's half human and half fish, or made up of 2 animals, basically saying the same thing. So you wouldn't use both of those portions of the sentence. You would just take one or the other. So the first sentence, you could just cross off according to popular beliefs. Instead have it read, it is thought that mermaids are half human and half fish, and then cross off made up of 2 different animals. The second part, the legends describe beautiful seeing creatures that attracted the attention of passing sailors sailing by. Here, again, you're saying the same thing. Passing sailors and sailing by, you're basically saying the same thing. So you could cross off sailing by and the sentence would still make sense. You don't need that sailing by part. Also, where it says, so the stories say, is basically saying the same thing as the legends describe. Again, kind of just reiterating the same point. So you could cross that off also. You could cross off, so the stories say, and the sailing by part. And the sentence still makes sense. The legends describe beautiful singing creatures that attracted the attention of passing sailors. Still a complete sentence. You don't need the extra information, so it's fine. The last sentence, the sailors would become distracted by the mermaids, the distractions causing their ships to crash on the rocks. Again, here you don't need the distractions because the sailors would become distracted by the mermaids, causing their ships to crash on the rocks is just fine. The distractions is just kind of repeating distracted by already, so you don't need that. So it's just redundant, so you can just cross it off. I will put these answers on the web page. It will look kind of like this, and I'll just kind of give you the answers for the weeks. I'll generally, I'm thinking, post these on Thursday. That way you have a chance to do the first week before I give you the answers, because I do want you to try them first off. I do know, before we move on to the vocab, someone said they had a question on Fridays. So um, I'll jump ahead to Friday, and if you were the one with a question, you can interrupt me, and I'll try to get to what Nick's confused on. So Friday is a little bit longer. It has this long poem talking about the Loch Ness Monster. The first question is asking you what's the main idea. So main idea is just what the poem's about. So Nick, what was your question on this one? Um, I'll try to go over that more specifically if I don't hit it as we go. So the main idea, since this is talking about Loch Ness Monster, that's basically the main idea. So your main idea is the Loch Ness Monster. To what sense does the poem appeal most strongly? So that's talking about like vision or sight, smell, taste. What when you read this poem, what does that? Oh, you can write. If that's your only question, that's pretty easy. So you can write your answers directly on that paper, right? So like you have that whole packet in front of you. You can just write the answers to the side, like so where it says what's the main idea. If you just want to scribble in right there, Loch Ness Monster. To what sense does the poem appeal? If you want to say that appeals to sight, I would say, just reading through this. I don't think it's talking about taste. I don't think it's talking about your sense of hearing. It's talking about like what it looks like. So that would be no, you don't have to do that. That's a good question. At the bottom of the page on the Fridays, they always give you a write a summary of the poem. You don't have to do that. On your weekly assignments, there already is a paragraph writing assignment, so that's good enough. You don't have to do both. I do want you to circle two examples of repetition, and that's just two things that are repeated. There are a bunch of answers for that one in here because they repeat quite a bit. Like right here, I believe she's there. Do you? I believe she's there. Do you? They kind of repeat over and over in this, so you could just pick any two. What nouns are used to name the famous Nessie? So there you just look for anything you could touch. So they call it a monster at one point. Down here they call it a seal. They also say a mirage. Any of those would work. You don't have to list every single one because they give a whole bunch. Just lists like one or two. And then lastly, reread the phrases that have helped you form a picture of Nessie and draw a picture. So just scribble a little picture of what you think the Loch Ness Monster would look like. It could be, like a dinosaur looking guy or whatever. You've seen me draw things before and it's not pretty, so I don't expect your art to be amazing, especially on just this little bitty area. So I don't expect it to be, fantastic. So that's fine. And again, I'm going to put this on the website. For some reason, when I'm trying to get into your class right now, I can't get in. I think it's because I'm logged in under Miss Vaughn's password so I can be on the YouTube stream. So I think that's why I can't get in right now. So I'll hop on as soon as I get off YouTube. But the second thing I wanted to go over was the vocab section. So this would probably have been something I would have given you guys for homework. In your packet, you see, like I gave you the definitions, and then there's a paragraph beneath that where you just have to put the words in the correct boxes. For the first one, and I did this earlier, so I have the answers directly in front of me here. All right. So, good. All right, I'm glad you like the organization there. I work on that sometimes. So the answers for this, John was keeping a family journal. He asked some relatives to recall their earliest memories. John's grandfather was the first to talk about his childhood. When I was small, everything seemed bigger, he said. Small houses seemed like enormous mansions. The little trees in our backyard towered into the sky. One day I fell out of one. I sat on the ground feeling Stunned, my leg was broken, the bones mended fine, but I was stuck in bed for weeks. Mom brought me ice cream sodas to cheer me up. I thought they tasted delicious. I scraped up the last bit of foam from the bottom of the cup. All right. So I know I'm going through this pretty quick because I'm quickly running out of time, but I'll give you the answers to this also. It will the page will look like this. It will be organized Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then under that it will give you the vocab answers for Grayling. So those would be the answers. If you had them incorrect, you could just scratch it out, erase it, whatever. If you didn't have it, of course, you can do it as we're going. The second part to the vocab is a little different. Normally, I don't assign this for your homework, but I think this might be useful to you guys. What they want you to do is, since they gave you the definitions on the last page and they show you how to use the words in the paragraph, what they want you to do is underline or circle what words are a clue to what these words mean, right? So in the first one, underline the phrase that explain why Molly is stunned. What might leave you stunned? So at first, Molly was stunned by her mother's announcement. So what stunned her was the announcement, right? So you would just underline announcement, and then afterwards you could put, what might leave you stunned, and you could write anything. You could write like a crocodile or, a fireball or whatever comes to mind, anything that would surprise you. And then the second part, underline two relatives of Molly and her mother who are named in the story. So for that one, you just look for names. I think Aunt Jane and Uncle Reggie are the answers there. And again, I know we're running out of time, so instead of going through this entire thing, I will post those answers on the website so you can go over those on your own. There were three more things I wanted to go over, but I see I only have 5 minutes left. So the speed read challenge part. When you guys go on the website, you will see this page, right? What I want you to do is pick any one of these stories for this week, and I want you to read it 3 times. I want you to time how fast you read it each time. So the first time you look at one of these passages, and I don't care which one you read, I want you to read it out loud and time yourself. So either on your cell phone, if you have a sibling or a parent who wants to time you with a watch, that's fine too. But I know cell phones have a stopwatch app on them, so you can just time yourself. And it doesn't matter how fast you read it. It should take you somewhere between 2 and 4 minutes to read these. They're all like a page long. You can go through and find the shortest one if you want, but they're all roughly the same. They're all about a page. So what I want you to do is read it the first time you've looked at it out loud, time yourself how long it takes. Then I want you to read it silently, or if you click on the purple by the title, if you hold down Control and right click it, it'll bring this up. And it will read it to you. When they read it, it takes a little bit longer because they read kind of like as a robot, but it will only still take them like 3 minutes, 4 minutes to read each story to you. And then after you've heard that story or you've read it silently, I want you to read it again out loud and time yourself again. Most likely your time will go down. So if it took you 3 minutes the first time, it'll probably take you like 2 minutes and 40 seconds, something like that. And then I want you to wait a day or maybe a couple hours and then read it one more time. So on your third time, again, record that amount of time, how long it took you to record it. And then you're done with that for the week. That's it. And this is on the web page. I wanted to show you the link, but I guess I can't be logged in as myself and Miss Vaughn at the same time. But there's a graphic organizer where you can fill in which story you read and how long it took you each time to read it. And it shouldn't take you very long. Each passage will probably take you like 2 to 4 minutes, and you have to read it 3 times. So 4 times 4 is 16, so at most 16 minutes. So it shouldn't be that bad. Last thing I want to go over is the personality test project. Again, it's kind of a bummer that I can't get into the Google Classroom for some reason. But the personality test project, there's an example on there for you. And basically what it is it's kind of like a little spirit animal test. Like if you were, I think, an owl, are you an owl, a bird? I can't remember which all animals are on there. But it asks you just a few questions. You look at your answers to those questions, and then you create your own personality test. And the idea with this is it's a way to like improve your ability to use supporting details. So if I was going to go with say Stormtrooper, Sith, and Jedi, what I'm doing is I'm basically saying Jedi act this way, Sith act this way, Stormtroopers act this way. So then I ask you, uh, a question like, what would you do if someone was bossing you around? If you were a stormtrooper, you would probably answer something like, I would always follow the directions. If you were a Sith, you might say, like, I always have to be in charge. I don't listen to anybody else. And if you're the Jedi, you might be like, I follow the directions, but I still question authority. And that's basically me giving you a supporting detail for how I think, um, a Jedi would behave in this situation, a stormtrooper and a Sith. And you can do whatever you want. Nathaniel did a really good one with animals. I really liked it. Um, I didn't see anybody else who had one done, so his was the only one I looked at so far. Um, but you can kind of come up with your own if you're interested in, um, you know, a particular movie like Harry Potter or Stranger Things. Use 3 characters from that, and there's a little graphic organizer on there that should be relatively straightforward. I really liked yours, Nathaniel. I was a meerkat when I took your test, so I thought it was kind of cool. I almost answered all the questions with for the meerkat answer. I think I had one for something else, but for the most part, I had that straight down. So I thought that was really cool. It was creative. Um, I liked it. I had to look up what the one animal was, the bird, I think. I didn't know what that was, so I had to look it up. That was kind of cool. Um, yeah, Nick, I saw your comment about essays. I thought about giving you guys an essay, and if we were still in school, we pretty much definitely would have done one. But I figured it would be rough for people to have to do essays at home, and I know it's stressful enough for you guys already, like being in the weird circumstances that we're in. So I figured I would just try to break it down. And as long as you're working like 20 minutes ish a day, um, you know, try to keep things as stress free as possible. Yes, African gray was the thing I had to look up. I didn't know what that was. I think when I read through your thing again, I noticed that you had wrote down like a bird somewhere in the description, and so I didn't need to look it up if I was paying closer attention, probably. But yeah, does anyone have any other questions? I know Mr. Andrews is getting on in like a minute, so I don't want to cut into his time. Um, when you're I saw someone else typed to the side that they did the personality test, so I'll jump on there and look at yours as soon as I get off this. Tristan. So I'll look at Tristan. Yeah. So I'll get on there and look at yours as soon as I am done with this. Check my email real quick. Okay. I will check my email real quick. Nice. Good job, Katana. I'm sorry that you're bored. All right. So have fun with Mr. Andrews, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for keeping time for me there, Hunter.